Welcome to the Rise and Roar with the Badass Lioness podcast, where women decide no more mediocrity or abandoning their well-being. I am Janine Emily Smith, your badass host and founder of the Badass Lioness movement. I am a story-to-stage coach and co-host of the TV show Rockstar Diaries Healing Out Loud. Are you ready to level up your standards, rewrite your nervous system, repattern conditioned thinking, and rise into your next chapter? This is the perfect place for you. Everything we share on this podcast is not theory. It is rooted in decades of lived experience that only comes from walking through the fire and coming out changed. Are you ready to turn scars into stories that heal and make a difference? Get ready to rise, revive, and thrive, because the lioness in you is ready to roar. Welcome to the Rise and Roar with the Badass Lioness. I am your badass host, Janine Emily Smith. Today, it is all about collaboration and connection. I am here with the masterful Michelle Valley, master collaborator and marketing and operations partner for solopreneurs. I love that word, solopreneurs. She works directly with solopreneurs to design and integrate the marketing and operational foundations that allow their business to grow sustainably without them having to do everything themselves. Oh, that's golden. With 35 years supporting Fortune 500 companies, small businesses, and entrepreneurs, she has seen what happens when vision expands faster than structure, momentum stalls, energy fragments, and growth becomes exhausting instead of freeing. I love the statement that she says, through collaboration, we all find freedom. Welcome to the stage, badass lioness, Michelle Valley. Woo! Oh my gosh. I met you a few weeks ago through another connection that we both are familiar with. We just hit it off right off the bat. That's what connection can do. Can you give our audience a little introduction about yourself, the name of your company, and, the value that you bring, which is so much?
It's so funny because I actually have been really trying to put into words still the value that I bring. My business is Freedom Collaboration, and it is just that. Because I have had a belief forever, even when I was in the corporate world, that through collaboration, not just a belief, it's been proof. Through collaboration, we all find freedom. I worked in advertising for years. In the advertising world, all the different departments are very segmented, but we all have to be able to work together to launch the ad, whatever it is, the campaigns, right? Worked in retail. And in retail, it seems that you're very independent and individualized and stuff. But really what I discovered is that when we all worked together, we all collaborated, we all took our gifts and our skills and worked them together, I ended up with the most profitable, not maybe the most busy, not maybe the most, right, but the most profitable stores when I ran them, because of just that, having collaboration, and we're a team all on the same page. And then even in my corporate world, when I was a marketing director, I always made sure that the people on my team were able to shine with their genius zone, because I don't know if you've ever read this book. It's an oldie but a goodie. It's called Good to Great.
Yes.
And it talks about having the right people on the right seat on the right bus. And sometimes we hire people for a job that maybe isn't in their skill set, isn't in their wheelhouse. They're not the right people for it. Doesn't mean they're not the right people for your business. So that's where bringing all that together. In my corporate experience, I worked with entrepreneurs. I worked in the real estate world. I would work with real estate agents who are solopreneurs for the most part. Most of them are. And I would see so many of them with these just beautiful gifts, and they would quit or burn out or run ragged because they just couldn't do it all themselves. And then I started working in online and saw the same thing, just this
Mm.
repetitive thing of people doing it all themselves and burning out. And then their beautiful gifts don't get given to the world. And I wanted to be able to come alongside and help them. So that's where Freedom Collaboration came from.
Yay. That is amazing. I have been in the corporate world. I've been an entrepreneur, brick and mortar. I owned a women's health spa back in 2006, 2008 when the recession hit, and now my own entrepreneur with online and speaking. I know exactly what you're talking about. Wanting to do everything for everybody, maybe not a desire or a want, but as solopreneurs, that ends up happening sometimes by just good old fashioned need, you know, and you're right. We cannot possibly be everything for everybody. That's where burnout comes from.
Mhm.
That's one big reason. And I can tell you, I was back then the poster child for burnout. And so I love everything. I loved when you said you allowed your employees to shine within their genius zone. So I was
Mhm.
in retail as well. Can you talk a little bit more about that? How many employees were under you?
Oh, goodness. Honestly, I don't remember. In retail, I mean, I never worked for big, huge store. Well, I worked for JCPenney's for quite some
Mm,
time and Nordstrom. I would say, as far as like my team, my direct team, probably 10 to 12. Same
okay.
in corporate.
Mm-hmm.
Same in corporate, probably about 10 to 12. I did manage support entrepreneurs in my own businesses as well. So
Mm-hmm.
they weren't my employees,
Mm-hmm.
but I did sales training and I did marketing training and all that kind of stuff. And that was more than that.
It's not necessarily about the number, and that's not why I asked.
Mhm.
But I was thrown into a Microsoft job one time where I was managing a team of Xbox employees, both in Seattle or Redmond and here in Texas. I was not able to do justice to my team members because it was too many, right?
Oh, yeah.
And
Mhm.
that's, another reason why delegation and collaboration come into play. But I love the fact that you have worked on all those different levels because to me it's all about just humanness, connection, and you have got that down. I tell you what. You have just in speaking to you, the collaboration part is so passionate to you. So, can you
Mhm.
talk about that? Just any golden nuggets about collaboration and how one can amplify it.
I learned all about it the hard way.
Oh,
Yes,
that's usually where
I
great
am.
teaching and learning comes into play.
Yeah. So first of all, I'm most of my life extremely type A, extremely divine masculine, extremely OCD and perfectionist, and it's got to be done this way. It's got to be done well. It's got to be done
Mm,
right. Even my mother, still to this day, kind of, I'm working her out of this, but calls me a control freak. And what's really interesting is because of that, I had in my early career a really hard time letting go of things,
hmm.
especially in because this is not the first business I've started in my life, but especially in my businesses and in the almost every single corporate job I've had, I created that position. I created it. I
Wow.
saw a need and I created it from my very
Hmm.
first one right out of college. And so it's my baby, right? I'm not going
Mm,
to give the baby
yes.
up to have
Ooh.
somebody else take care of it, right? And it was really difficult. I was working for an aerospace company as a marketing director, international aerospace company during 9/11,
Mm,
and ended up leaving that job very quickly afterwards. It was just, but I left that job, was like, okay, I had a 2-year-old at home. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to go back to retail so that I can
mm,
spend more time with him because that whole incident like impacted most of us, but it
mm,
impacted me very much. And I'm
mm.
like, I have a 2-year-old at home and I'm working 60 hours a week.
Wow.
No. So
Mm,
I went back to retail and was still in that mindset of I've got to do everything. And I started working too many hours. And that wasn't why I was there. And I'm like, you know what? I was starting to burn out. And I'm like, I have this beautiful team of people. I've got 3 assistant managers, I've got a supervisor, I've got this beautiful team of people who are all very gifted. And
Mm-hmm.
it was like in that moment, I went, oh my gosh. And I was talking to someone at the time, I honestly don't remember who, and they said, you know what you do is you hire people around you who have strengths where your weaknesses are.
Yes.
And I'm like, I don't have any weaknesses. I mean, that's like where I was in that moment.
Ooh.
And so it came down to I really had to look at where do I have weaknesses? Where could I bring someone in who could help me? Where could I, even if it's not a weakness, what don't I want to do? I
Mm-hmm.
don't want to do A, B, C, and D. It's not
Right.
where I want to be spending my time. So I started looking at that and did just that. So started really looking at my team and raising up the members who were had strengths where I didn't. Also, really encouraged my team to share what they were thinking. Like so many people in the corporate world, you look up and you're like, oh, you don't want to say anything to your manager because you don't want to speak up against them, or you don't
Mm,
want to tell them they're wrong, or you don't, right? And
right.
one of the things my dad taught me when I was young is never come to a manager with a problem,
Mm,
come with an issue and solutions. That's
yes.
just how you come. Here's something I see that we can improve upon. Here's how I think we can improve it. And so essentially, I taught my team to do just that. I let them know final answer is always me because it comes down on me. But I want you guys to participate. I want you to feel like this is yours. And I started leading differently and I started leading collaboratively. That was the difference. And guess what? We were one of the smallest, slowest stores in our district, and we ended up being number one in profit
Wow.
because we were leading, we were running the store collaboratively, letting
Mhm.
everyone take on what they loved doing. People, we ended up moving people around within the store and giving them different responsibilities that match their gifts and match their passion. And it just made all the difference in the world.
That is golden right there. So many mic drop moments and so much to unpack with what you just said, because trust is a big word. You need to be able to trust your employees, and that trust starts with what you said in the hiring process, the onboarding process. A lot of companies miss that. They really do. In the initial, okay, what kind of skill sets do we want? How do we determine what will benefit us versus, you know,
Yep.
that type of thing. But then it's their trust for you. And as a leader, how you show up. I teach about nervous system, how we show up to give that safe environment. And it sounds like you humbled yourself. You really did. That the same thing happened to me, sister. I tell you what. And it's like, oh no, I couldn't possibly. I think it's, when that's what our moms taught us. If you want something done right, you do it yourself.
Mm.
That old adage. But then all of a sudden you're like, well, yeah, but I really don't want to do that piece of it. I know I can, and I can
Right.
do it really well. But then this other part of me that I love to do suffers.
Absolutely. And you know what's really interesting is that this is one of the lessons I've learned slowly over time. But as I let go, I actually end up having more,
Mm,
which is so interesting.
mhm,
And it reminds me, so I used to teach Financial Peace University, Dave Ramsey's program at church. And that was one of the visuals that he did is
mm.
we can't increase if we don't let go. If we hold on to everything so tight,
Yes.
nothing can come to us. Abundance can't come to us. We have to have
Yes.
our hands open. We have to be willing and open to receive. And we
Mm.
can't do that if we're holding on so tight to what we have. And that was one of the hugest lessons that I learned in that moment. And it just made all the difference.
That made all the difference for me as well. What you just said, and in the recovery world, they say, let go and let God. Right? But it's true. We hold on to these things, even the bad, like things from our history and our
Mm-hmm.
past
Mm-hmm.
that we know were not healthy and destructive for us to keep holding on to those, but we do. and the first step though is acknowledging it.
Well,
Oh my
right. And
goodness.
that goes back to I had to acknowledge, first of all,
Yes.
that I had weaknesses, and then had to acknowledge that there were things that I did that I really didn't enjoy. And I really think some of that is the hardest part, is to really narrow that down. So,
Yes. Freedom truly is becoming who you were designed to be. And I believe freedom does start with our identity, not income. The income comes, and you said that in a few different words, but bottom line, it starts with us, our identity, getting humble, acknowledging things that we really maybe don't even like to do, like we talked about, the things that maybe, somebody else can do better. So there's so much to unpack here. I don't even know where to go from here.
I'll take it one more place. I love that you just
Okay.
said that, freedom, because, yes, I said one of the number one results was that I ended up having the store with the most profit, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And really, that's not even what I was most proud of. What I was most proud of was that by allowing all my team members to work in their genius zone,
Mm-hmm.
they ended up rising. And I was not a training store. And yet I ended up being the store that had the most employees promoted into management out of any of the
Mm-hmm.
stores in the district, because I was allowing people to shine. I was allowing
Mm-hmm.
people to be. And a lot of that, I agree, has a lot to do with, creating that safe space for people to feel like they can speak up, for people to feel like they can tap into their own
Mm-hmm.
passions and their own genius. So that
Mic
was really
drop moment. It
proud
truly is. It's a mic drop moment. People don't see especially in the corporate world, a lot of folks that don't feel safe.
of. Mhm.
It's a brain thing. When your nervous system does not feel safe, the first thing to go is your cortex, that part of your brain that is the decision making, the creativity. I know this is getting real scientific, but it's true. You have to create that safe environment, and then people get that creativity,
Right.
and they're able to be their authentic selves and bring what they do best to the table. And I love the fact that you said you were able to help them rise up.
Yeah.
That is a strong team. That is bringing heart and compassion back into the workplace, which I believe our world needs a heart transplant, even in the corporate world. You
Yes.
would think that by now we would have learned and things would have gotten better, but it still is an epidemic in our country, I believe, with the lack of humanity. My husband and I wrote a stage play called More Than the Bottom Line. And it brings fun,
Mhm.
it brings humor to corporations and what goes on behind the scenes, but it brings light to what's going on. And I love the fact though that you were there firsthand. So you're teaching, you are helping, you built a company based on lived experience, which is bottom line so key in all of this. It's not going on AI and by theory, trying to figure things out. Oh no. Just like you said, you learned the hard way and now you're trying to save people years
Yes.
and thousands of dollars, right?
Yes. Yeah. And that's just one hard lesson, right?
Mm-hmm.
And like you said, there's so much to unpack and there's so many places I could go, like in my history, but I really loved what you just said about that I created Freedom Collaboration based on my experience.
Yep.
And so I'd love to just jump right in there if that's
Please.
okay with you.
Please. Yes.
Because Freedom Collaboration is built as that safe place,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Because one of the things that I've recognized out in the solopreneur world mostly, because being a solopreneur is very different than a solopreneur is an entrepreneur
Mm-hmm.
and they're doing it all themselves. They
Mm-hmm.
don't have employees, they don't have teams, they
Mm-hmm.
may have a VA or something, but they're really doing it all themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And they're a unique bird. So, and what I've noticed with solopreneurs is so many of them start their business with passion and then get overwhelmed with the business itself
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
because most people, when they start off as a solopreneur, don't really know what it takes to run a business.
Mm-hmm.
Most don't,
Mm-hmm.
and so aren't expecting it and stuff. And the probably the piece that just breaks my heart the most is they don't know who to trust to help them. And
Right.
so many of them hire people because they're told they'll get A, B, and C from
Mm-hmm.
this,
Mm-hmm.
and end up spending money and either get ghosted or don't get the A, B, or C, or end up spending so much money
Mm-hmm.
trying to put things together and then don't even know how to use it once
Mm-hmm.
it's done. And
Oh.
it just, those are the things that break my heart. And so one of the ways that Freedom Collaboration is structured is I bring on, let's say, a coach
Mm-hmm.
who needs all of their systems, set up for them because they're getting so busy now with clients that they need things to be automated, or they need a portal for their clients to access the information instead of them sharing their Google Drive all the time, right? Or whatever it might be. But their business is growing past their ability to support and hold their business and their clients. But they don't know who to bring in to help them.
Mm.
And so that's where I come in, because then I also have all these beautiful souls on this side of my business who have gifts and skills, but don't know how to get clients,
Mm-hmm.
right? And how to share those gifts and skills, how to promote them, how to whatever it might be, right? So, and honestly, most of them are very creative, very neurodivergent, very
Mm.
talented, brilliant people who don't want to deal with the business side of it. They just don't want to. They just want to do what they love, right? And so I bring them together. And that's one of the things that I do. So that's a part of that collaboration that I've created. And so if I have a client who says, oh, I need someone to create my logo for me, or I have a client who says, I need someone to, edit my podcasts. Those are things that then I go find these people for them. And so then what I'm actually doing is I'm not only growing my own business, I'm growing the businesses on both sides of me. So like you talked about, like I lift them up, I help them rise, find people who have that genius zone.
Mm.
And it's been brilliant. It's been absolutely brilliant. And what I've actually discovered is some of these creatives that I bring in on this side, they're actually learning how to shine their own light without me.
Yes.
One of my graphic designers just took on his first client outside of me, right?
Oh.
All on his own. And I'm just like this proud, this
Yes.
proud mama, right? And I've had multiple people in my world who I've helped them get so busy that they can't help me anymore. And that's okay. It's just like the store. It's just like the store. Like I raised them up and they went on
Mm-hmm.
to run their own stores.
Yes.
That is, that's my joy. That's my joy.
Oh. I that I love that.